So what is up, YouTube? It is your girl Maya. I'm back for a round dose. Well, I don't know what round it is, to be honest with you. It could be round 18 of uh lives that I have done. I've done a few at this point. Um, that's a nice little situation. Look at that. Okay, I want to go with that one because it's giving me some brown. Been live a couple times, and so I don't know why I would have said welcome back to round whatever. But appreciate you for watching my content. Something I absolutely love. If any of you all are venturing into a space where you're looking to make more content, and you specifically want to make it and be posting on YouTube. I like the fact that YouTube will allow you to schedule your lives so that you're able to hop on here at your convenience and let people know that you're going to be going live. In addition to that, I like the fact that they will give you a green screen so you can figure out what you want to put behind you, so you don't have to be worried about what's going on in your background. I'm learning all of these things kind of as I go. So, if you are looking for any tips, you are venturing into figuring out how you can share any content that you may have, you're trying to figure out how to get your business or your ideas out there, feel free to reach out to me. I'm on all socials. If you hit me in the link below, um, or hit me on here on the comment on this video, I'll be sure to make sure that I am being as helpful as possible. That's really my goal. I set out to help as many people as I can. So just let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Maya, and I am a serial entrepreneur. And I have spent the last 15 plus years of my professional career helping people. Like, my passion is to help people, period, in the end of the sentence. And so I decided to finally venture out, and in every way, shape, or form that I can be helpful. If it's something that also benefits me, that I'm into, that I love, then I'm going to take the opportunity to do it. And so something that I'm really passionate about is business, and being somebody that has been self-employed for the amount of time that I've been self-employed, in various ways, shapes, or forms, and venturing into different avenues. I've done a lot, and I've worked with a lot of tools. I've created a lot of the media for myself. I've done marketing for myself. I've done social media for myself. And so as a part of one of my businesses, which is elevation coaching, basically is helping people accomplish their dreams. I've decided that part of that I'm going to do it virtually. So I want to give opportunities for people like yourself to be able to hop on, join my lives, watch any videos. So if there's anything that you are thinking that you want to see, or any questions that you have in relation to business, I will be as helpful as I can. I'm also an attorney. I'm licensed to practice in the state of Georgia. I've been practicing law since 2010. And so, there may be questions that you have that might be legally connected to your business. I'm an ideas factory, so I wanted to be able to hop on here and help people with any things that they may be thinking in terms of businesses they may want to start from home. Moms who are looking to start any businesses, offer you support as well. And so that was the purpose of this live, was to hop on to see if there was a community of people who were in need of any support for their businesses. Any places that you may be stalled, if you're considering scaling. A lot of this stuff you really have to get in it. So the first tip that I could give anyone is, you have to begin. Like, you're not going to be perfect at business. Like, that is just not how it's designed to work. And business isn't just for a certain type of people. I have um, 3 degrees. I have I have an undergraduate degree, a bachelor's in business. I have a master's in business administration with a concentration in entrepreneurship, and I have a Juris Doctorate, which is a law degree. However, with all that being said, you do not need any of those things to get started with your business or whatever your dream, may be. I think a lot of people think that business is just Walmart, like Walmart or a major retailer. That is a way to have a business and to get started, but that is not the only way to be effective and to run a business. Just like that's a business, selling water bottles, actual bottles of waters, like they have this issue in Atlanta with these water boys. That is a business. Business is just offering this for sale, either a service or some type of product in exchange for resources, for money. You could also be bartering for businesses. Sometimes people exchange services for, whatever it is that they're attempting to achieve. And so I think that we really have to, number one, make sure you're getting started and not allow the process to be so intimidating or overwhelming to you, because they can do it, you can do it. If I could do it, you can do it. I think that is a common mistake that people make, is believing the hype, believing that, just because they don't see a clear path to something, that there is no clear path to it. That absolutely is not true. I'm going to move some stuff around so I can get my pad out, because I want to make sure that I am, if anyone has any particular questions, can ask it and I can write those things down. Hey, Kitty Lover, I appreciate you jumping in here and joining my live. Okay, let's get live. Okay, so first step, absolutely get started. Okay, and so I haven't received any questions, and so I'm just gonna keep giving the information. I think it's helpful because it's not beneficial for me to make content and then just be like, okay, well, since nobody asked nothing, then I'm gonna go ahead and move on. No, get started. And the second thing that I said, if you're just jumping on here, is it doesn't require, you to have some type of fancy degree to get going. All right, so let's think about just some businesses that I have seen on social media. And as they pop in my mind, I'm going to just provide perhaps like some business coaching that I think would be beneficial for people who are those types of business owners. And if anyone jumps on here while I'm doing this live session, feel free to jump in the comments. Also, make sure that you're subscribed to my page. I'm going to be doing these lives as often as I can. Okay, so my plan is to provide as much information to people about how to accomplish whatever it is that you're attempting to accomplish. So specifically this call, or this call, child, help us. Okay, specifically this video is about businesses and getting started with your business and things of that nature. But I have grief support. I'm going to do one on grief on Thursday. And however they come to me, however, I'm impacted, whatever part of my, the coaching that I do. The coaching that I do is specifically tailored to what your need could be. And because my experience is so diverse, I am, just set with the purpose of helping people accomplish their dreams, their goals. And so what I do is kind of like a fitness trainer. I come in, based on your strengths, your weaknesses, what your goal is, come up with a strategic plan on how you're going to accomplish it. So for the purpose of this, for this live, hey from Brazil, hey CC, I have not received anything in the chat, and so what I'm going to talk about is hairstylist. Okay, so on social media right now, and if anybody hops on and you have a business question, or you have you need an idea, you could drop what you're thinking about doing, what your resources are. Their businesses can be started with $5, right? Businesses can be started with what you have at your home. In 2025, there are so many different platforms that allow you the opportunity to have, to exchange in e-commerce. Okay, you're able to sell things online. You're able to, find people who are like-minded. You are able to find your tribe of people who will support you and support your business. So make sure you get started. Also, there's a person in the chat, a ghost. I want everybody, if you're on here, to take a look at what their comment was, just so you can see the type of energy that we have in here tonight. Okay, so for hairstylists, if you're a hairstylist, and if anybody could report them, I'd appreciate it. So if you're a hairstylist and you're either working from your home salon, you have the hairstylists that are doing the booth rental, and then you also have ones that are working in a larger salon. So easy ways to increase, your clientele would be through the obvious gift that we have, which is social media. Okay, social media is your friend. A lot of people are using social media just for, their own entertainment and engagement. However, social media is free marketing. Okay, if you do not have money, but you want people to see your work, you can get whatever it is that you are doing. You can get that seen on social media by using the platform and your cell phone. And so if you are a hairstylist, what you want to make sure you're doing is taking pictures of your content, taking pictures of your work, making videos of your work. If you are not super savvy on a lot of these platforms, you can use Canva. Canva is has a free platform that you could use, that you can make different videos, you can make different photos, you can advertise in different ways on Canva. You can also use CapCut. CapCut, CAPQ. Help me, Jesus. CAPCUT. So CapCut, what it will allow you to do is you can go on there, and then you're able to, let's see, let me just do these two things. Let's see. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just having to put a couple people out my live because I don't have, my patience is just so low that I didn't get time. So I just got to block the people so that I can move in my own energy. Okay. So, well, I probably should have left them in there, because also for business tip number 2, any energy that you get on social media is a win. Okay, and so I think a lot of us as individuals, we struggle with dealing with people who are going to be negative, who are going to be hateful, who are going to, because you're shooting this stuff out here to everybody, and people are like, I don't want to be involved in that, I don't want to do that. But look, get out here, who cares? Like, what you're doing is advocating for yourself and your family. This is work, this is marketing. And so, like I said, you can use CapCut. CapCut has, hey Jamar, CapCut has free templates where if you have photos, or you have videos or anything of that nature, you can drop those in those pre-slated templates, and it will provide you these beautiful videos with sound and with lighting and with the booms and all of that. And that is a really easy way to take whatever content you're creating and then turn it into something that's super marketable. Typically, people who are watching things that you're advertising on social media are going to be listening to like the first 10 seconds. And so if you've watched any creators talk about what they do, they're talking about visual cues. So what you put at the top of your screen matters. Whether or not there is a sound that is a common sound they used to. Do you have an explosion? What's the picture that the people are looking on? So going back to that example I was using, if you're a hairstylist and you're attempting to get more clientele, then you want to make sure that not only are you taking photos of the styles that you're doing, showing videos of your work, using these free platforms like Canva and CapCut to create something that is marketable for your business, but then also hashtags. Okay, listen, you see these braids I have in? Everybody and their mama, cousin, sister, friend has these braids. These are called boho braids, for anybody who is not aware what these braids are called. Hey girl, hey. I don't know if you're a girl ninja, but you said more, so I said, hey girl, hey. And I take that back. She may not have been a girl, but I was excited when I saw the kissy face. So anyways, make sure you put that up. I took a picture of myself with these braids, and across the top I put boho braids, and I think 1,500 people viewed that video. Now, what does that tell you? It's summertime, we're outside. And so if what you're attempting to do is get some traction with your business, You just need to be smart about it. Okay, so let's using that hairstylist example, because what we're talking about right now is generating business. We're talking about generating people who are going to spend money on your service. Your books ain't booked, right? Ain't nobody hitting you up. Like, how do they get in contact with you? You go to these free platforms. I suggest using a mixture, if you're doing hair, of Instagram and TikTok. Instagram, photos of what you're doing, a mixture of photos and videos. They just started the reels there, not just started, but it's not the same as the real experience that you get on TikTok. But the benefit of using something like Instagram is that people go on there and search for things, and their search is a little less AI monitored than what you would experience on TikTok. So make sure whatever the style is, put the style at the top. What's the price? Okay, give me the price, or give me a teaser about the price so I'll engage with you. Make sure you have how to contact you, and be prompt and responsive. And then just with those things, if you're running that particular type of business and you're consistent with it, then you will see a vast improvement. So that was a big thing that I just said, right? I said consistent. See, most people, you're not really willing to work that hard. So look, if you are not gonna work hard, then this live ain't for you. You might as well go ahead, get the packing, you know what I'm saying? Do whatever you trying to do, because the people who are excelling, the people who are, at the top, those are people who are, working really, really hard. Look at me, okay? It's 9:17. What am I doing? Right? I'm on live, right? Doing what I do, working, right? So that's just a small example of, what people are doing. And so if you want to be in a space where your business is generating profit, you're able to, keep a roof over your head, beyond that, you want overflow. Like, our goals don't need to be set at just enough. Right? Just enough is what has us living paycheck to paycheck. Just enough is what has you, unable to go on that vacation that you want to go on, struggling every time your kids need to pay for something. And so you need to put yourself in a position where you're shooting for above that. You know how much money you're seeking to earn, and what your goals are for it. I don't know about you all, but I'm not working just to be out here working. I don't like it that much. To be honest with you, like, people are like, oh, you must like work. No, I don't like work, but I like money. I like spending it. I like, going to steak dinners and eating lobster and whatnot. And so I think that if, depending on where you're at and where your values are, those are things that you should consider. But it requires you to be consistent. You will not see the results that you're looking for if you're not consistent. Like I said, using that hairdresser example, if you only post one video, you're hoping that somebody is going to see it, right? Like, while all these apps have millions of people, billions, I don't know if they have billions of people on there. I made that up. Let me tell y'all something. What's up, Turkey? I'm not a person that goes and does research about stuff that ain't my lane. Okay. I generally need to know stuff about stuff, but the stuff I know about, I know what I'm talking about. And so when it comes to business, one of the main things that, you will run into is marketing. You have to, number one, have your product or your service, right? Number two, you have to, be consistent with it. You got to get started, and you have to market, and so with marketing, that's really where the consistency comes in, because if you are not Apple, right? Even Apple, right? Why do you think that people spend as much money as they spend during the Super Bowl on halftime shows, right? If marketing wasn't the key, then you would not see that, right? But the reality of it is that all of this is for naught if you don't have customers and you don't have people who are willing to pay for what you're offering. And in order for people to pay for what you're offering, they need to see it. They need to be motivated. They need to be vibing with you. They need to be vibing with your energy. And so it's just really important that, if you're a small business owner or you're thinking about starting a business, that number one, you get started. Number two, you're consistent. And number three, that your marketing is doing what it can do. And so I think I mentioned this earlier when I was talking, but, Instagram, TikTok. I did not mention this. I told you that you could do a lot of your editing and stuff using CapCut and using Canva. But Instagram and TikTok, if those are the platforms that you're going to use for your businesses to promote them, and you literally, I know that I'm using hairstylist, and that's just because the hairstylist is styling, right? They everywhere, right? That if you that is a barber, a hairstylist, those are jobs that are always gonna be there. Those are skills that are service based that people provide and are constantly looking for. And so, if you are that person and you are like, okay, I really want to expand this. When I got my hair braided, I had a conversation with the braider about this. You can use the creator insights. So TikTok has what's called creator insights. If you're on TikTok and you're trying to figure out how to promote your business on TikTok, go on TikTok, type in creator insights. You will see a specialty bar pop up at the top. And inside of there, they will give you suggestions. Okay, they're like, look, this was trending. This is what you should talk about. And it goes as far as to say, okay, get a scenic view, hold product. Here's a script. It tells you hashtags and it tells you what the probability that you're going to be successful. So you can find tools like that on these platforms that will set you up to win. And so really it comes back to whether or not you're being consistent. The fourth thing I'm going to give you is ChatGPT. Okay. And I don't want to limit it to ChatGPT because, AI is being integrated into everything that we do. When we get done with this live, there probably going to be something in my socials and your socials, following you around about AI because I brought up ChatGPT. But you literally can do everything on these AI tools. Okay. So if you are looking to get your business started, right, and you follow the things that I've said, you have gotten started, you're being consistent, you're focusing on your marketing, you need to turn the AI up, okay? Because AI will allow you to put together just combinations of things, and it will tell you the answer without you having to think too hard about it. You will sit around, trying to figure out what to do, how to do it, and if you just type that thing in there, it will give you the answer quickly. I will tell you that I think that I am probably a little bit more advanced than the average person. I have been on there hardcore, but some things I do. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you are getting ready to film a show. You're getting ready to film something for your. Hang on one second. I'm just trying to report somebody else here. Why does this always? Why I always got to report people for no reason? You know what I'm saying? They ain't got nothing better to do. Probably broke too. Like, if you got time to hop on somebody's live when they talking about how to get money and how to be successful, and you say something like what I just reported, you probably ain't got no money, because people who out here trying to make it happen are not on that foolishness. But getting back to what I was talking about. So let's say you decide that you want to film a show, right? So you want to film a show and you want everybody there to know mum's the word. You cannot discuss what we're talking about. And so you want to do an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. You may not have the resources to hire an attorney. You're trying to figure out, what am I going to do? Boom. This is what you do. Open that ChatGPT. Put that to the side. Then go onto Google and type NDA template. Okay, so you find a template. You get a couple of templates if you want to, 2 to 3. I say do 1 because you don't want to confuse the app. You take it, you download that, or you can screenshot it, take a picture of it. Then you type in your information into ChatGPT. Now, some people I've heard, they will give chat some more instructions. They'll say, chat is a legal expert who is aware of such and such. Now, I can't say whether or not that makes a difference or not. I did it in the beginning, but then it was getting too many words. And I think that because I have a lot of experience doing a lot of random things, like, I know how to use Photoshop. I know how to, I know how to do stuff. So I'm like, that's taking me a little bit too far to the left. But going back to the example, you go into chat, you say, I am filming a show. There will be 5 people who I need to give in a non-disclosure agreement. We are in the state of X. And so wherever you are, when you're doing anything that involves the law, if it is not federal, this is an important thing to know, then you want to put the state in. However, let me say this. If you're not sure about whether or not state law or federal law is applicable to something, just as a general rule, you can also put that in chat. You could say, this is what the issue is, and whether is state law applicable or is federal law applicable, and then it'll give you an answer to that. But non-disclosure agreement, state of Georgia, I need 5 people to sign it. I need this to be the date. This is generally what we're doing. Attach the example. It'll spit you something back. Also, if you are going back to the initial example, because I didn't have anyone drop their business questions in the chat, with a hairstylist, you could say, I am a hairstylist. I'm currently working from home. My plan is to, within 30 to 60 days, give yourself more time, maybe 90 days to be more reasonable. I'm the type of person, I will say, when I'm setting goals like that, I'm giving myself 30 days. Okay. I want to be up. Okay. I need to get it going. I need it to happen. I don't have that type of time. So I want in the next 90 days to find a location, and I want to, be working from a booth. Give me a plan. Give me a 90-day plan. So it will provide things like that for you. You could say, give me a 90-day social media plan to increase my followers by 2,000. Give me a strategic plan on how to make 6 figures, right? And chat will then kick back to you a plan by which to and you follow it. But it goes back to the second thing I said, which is consistency. If you're not consistently doing something, if you're not working, really hard at it, if you're not checking the boxes, then, that's may not necessarily be something that you can accomplish. And so that's part of the reason, for me, with what I'm doing and how I'm working as a, hold on a second, I gotta block somebody else. Why? I don't have this type of time. Like, people act like I got time to be multitasking like this. I can't block and talk at the same time. Clearly I can't, because I just blocked you. But it's just it is the most important thing. I have to tell you, I understand. I struggle with it on myself. Trying to figure out how to make sure I'm on it, how to make sure, I am consistent with, the things that I'm doing. Can you have 8 jobs and do them all well? I'm not sure. I'm giving it my best go. I think that you can. I think that, the only limitations that we have are the ones that we put on ourselves. Other people do not have permission to tell you what you can or you cannot do. I think that it is important that now, what is going on with this? Oh, yeah, here it is. Ooh. Okay, yeah. Boom. Person was still talking to me, so I was trying to figure out how to get them out of the chat. Yeah, so it's just really important that you are committed to what it is that you're seeking to accomplish, that you are getting started with it, that you are consistent with it, that you are doing your marketing, and if you can, to the best of your ability, utilizing AI like ChatGPT and other, things to help you be organized with what you want to accomplish. Because this is about working smarter, not harder, right? We're not trying to hustle backwards. We're trying to move forward. We want to use all the resources, utilize all the resources that we can, so that we can be as successful as we can. Jamar, are you still in the chat? I don't know if you were still here, but I would love to get a question that I can ask. I see we've been on here for about 29 minutes, which is a decent amount of time to be on the live. Okay, I'm giving myself a little shout out. Maybe Jamar hopped off already. And so if he's not here anymore, that's cool. Anybody else who has any specific questions as it relates to their business? If not, then I will come up with another example. Oh, yeah, he's still here. So if you could ask some type of question, that would be great so that I can continue giving some good information that may be helpful to people as they're working through getting started with their businesses and moving towards success. I think that a lot of misconceptions is that people that you have to have a set amount of money in order to start a business. Now, if you are trying to open a restaurant and you don't have any money, then you probably do need to have some capital. But there are other things that you can look into: small business loans. Some people have investors that are able to, invest in their businesses. That's typically, you could do it if you're marketing a service, or if you're selling a product. Whatever it is, you do have the opportunity to get investors. That may be a little bit a different route, because it's going to require you to be able to show what it is that you're doing. You may need to put together a business plan, at least have some level of proposals, having thought out some of these things. But again, that goes back to ChatGPT and other AI resources. You could easily throw in those platforms and those apps what it is that you mildly think you're gonna do. Like, I think that people think that successful people have it all together. I think that they're just out here, I think they're just out here throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, and if I don't know if any of you all have looked at Amazon and Bezos and his kind of story with that. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to look at the founder of It's a 10. It's a hair care line, and her process to that. She started out as a hairstylist, and then went into flipping homes, and then she took the money from flipping homes and invested it in her hair care line. And if you're familiar with It's a 10, they have it at Ulta, they have it at Sephora, they have all these different places. And I mean, this is a high ticket product. This is $20 for a bottle of conditioner. And it just reminded me that we all place ourselves in positions and kind of think that we cannot do things, and you absolutely can do those things, and you can accomplish those things. So the first example I used and kind of talked through giving some business advice to would be a hairstylist. I'm going to stick to what I know and go close to home and talk to people who own law firms. So if you're a lawyer, you're a sole practitioner, and you're looking to get started in your businesses, each state is going to regulate business differently. Now, some sole practitioners, if you're a sole practitioner, that's a lawyer that practices by themselves, an individual who is running a business and they own the business as themselves, as an entity, is a sole proprietor. So you're the sole owner. You're the only person who owns it. What that means is that you're taxed as an individual for tax purposes. There's some benefits to that. If you're a lawyer and you're thinking about, hanging your flag and working for yourself, you got to think about things like malpractice insurance, whether or not you're taking money that is coming through another source, so is it in a trust account? But you can effectively operate your business just on your license. So just like any person, if some professions, like with the hairstylist, you have to have a cosmetology license. I know some people do hair from their home, and so I'm not getting into, how you handle your business, but you do have the ability to operate, as an individual. Most people, when you're scaling your business, scaling just means you're growing your business and bringing other people in so that you can consume the growth. So, how old school people used to do it, right? Our parents used to do it is they may just have one person trying to do everything, right? That is a tired, played business model. Like, you cannot be a one person show. And, you probably will be a one person show when you start out. Let me say that. But if you want to be Morgan and Morgan, or if you want to be Target, then you have to scale. You have to hire people to do more work. And what makes the most sense from a strategic standpoint. And so if you were somebody who I would be coaching, and you would say, okay, I want to figure out how to scale my business, right? Then what I would say to you is, well, what's your first need? And so your first need should be your first employee. Now, that's how I operate. However, I think it's important to consider that any things that you're doing, this is your strategy, right? This is your, how do I accomplish this goal? But from my perspective, you would hire who you need first. And so if you're attempting to, take over the world with your one, person show, and, the thing that you need the most might be a receptionist. The thing that you need the most may be a paralegal. The thing that you need the most may be a social media manager. The thing that you need the most may be an accountant, right? And so if you're attempting to grow your business, you want to scale your business, then you need to bring in people who can help you. But you really want to get smart, effective, people that can pull off whatever task that you've assigned them, whatever role you've given them, whatever job you've given them, and they can do it with the same degree of excellence that you're going to bring to it. And so you don't want to just be out here like, okay, I'm attempting to grow my business, so what I'm going to do is hire 5 to 10 people. Or I'm attempting to grow my business, so what I'm going to do is order 1,000 products, right? Because that's just not strategic. Like, the point is to invest to have the maximum amount of success, so income and profit, right? You want to profit. So I've got to spend money to make money. Everybody has heard that before, right? That you have to spend money to make money. Very true. How much money you have to spend and how much money you spend are two important factors that are affected. So how much money you have to spend, could depend on whether or not you're financing your businesses yourself. Most businesses are self-funded, right? So people are, using their own resources to support their businesses. Some people get, resources from their family, from their friends, and they're able to, grow their business that way. The example I used earlier with the founder of It's a 10, she got her money, her seed money from for her business from profits that she made from flipping homes. Now, the initial 10,000 she got, and I don't know what year this must have been. This must have been 1972, because what home are you buying and flipping for 10K? But hey, I digress. I ain't saying the lady made it up. I'm just saying it was feeling like, I don't see no house that's for sale for 10K, but okay, and able to fix it up. But she said she got a loan from her dad for 10,000 to start that process. So however it is, the first prong, how much money you have. And then the second prong is, how much you're going to invest. And how much you're going to invest is so important, because if you spend, let's say your goal is to start hosting events, right? You want to make money hosting events. And so you are like, I'm going to sell, and I don't do math, so I've got to write this down. So I'm going to sell tickets for $5. All right. So I'm going to host an event and I'm going to sell tickets for $5. And the space that I'm using only has capacity for 100 people. Right. And so with that amount of money that you would be making as profit, you have to consider the venue, where you're going to host it. All right. How are you going to get people there? Right? So how are you going to market, and how are you going to sell? Now, you could sell tickets at the door, and so then, maybe you cross it out, but that's something that's got to be on your list. So you need venue. How are you going to market? How are you going to sell? Do you have a DJ? Okay. you have an event, you know what I'm saying? Or, you know, how are you going to work out music? So it doesn't really need to be music. It could be DJ, it could be music. And then, you know, are there any types of, you know, refreshments that you're offering? Now, with $500, that's a lot to be trying to do with $500. Okay. So if I was doing coaching, right, and we had you signed up, you're working with me, you're looking to grow your business, you're trying to figure out what the next step is. You decide, okay, boom, I want to host this event and I want to sell tickets for $5. Now, that is not a good idea. Okay. It's not a good idea to come up with a ticket price before you have the answers to these questions. Okay. These are business no-nos. Okay. So if you know that in hosting an event that your goal, your idea is I want to host an event. Okay, let's start with that. The goal is to host an event. But the real goal, right, is to make money, make moolah, okay, make Guadalupe from hosting the event. So the goal is to make money. What I would do as a coach is ask you, well, how much? Right? Because how much is a very important question, you know, and you get into is this practical, you know, am I even able to attain that? But the question I would ask is how much? Okay. Now I'm going to answer the question back and encourage anyone who's in the chat to drop a number down and when I ask the question, and if not, then I'm going to answer it myself because I talk to myself all the time, okay? I'm a hoot. I enjoy me. Make sure you're subscribing, guys. Make sure you're, you know, watching my videos because I've got some really good content. Okay, so I'm going to say I want to make $1,000. All right, I'm going to host this event. I think that my effort, you know, $1,000. All right, so then I have to say, okay, let's get into venue. All right, so because my goal is to host an event, I want to make $1,000, you know, I guess the question should be, how much is my initial investment? All right, so, and I see your question, Jamar, I'm going to get to that. Okay, so how much is my initial investment? All right, I come to the table, I'm like, look, I only got $100. All right, I only have $100. That's a problem. So if you come to me, you want to make 1,000, you only have 100, you're trying to make it, you know, you're trying to make this money back, and also, you know, you were trying to profit $1,000. That 100 is a low amount to try to do that. Okay, and so not impossible, but just knowing, okay, you can't just go out and get the Biltmore. You can't just go out and get the Westin downtown. You have to be reasonable. First thing I would tell you about is a website called Peerspace. If you all have never heard of it, if you're hosting an event, Peerspace would allow you. It's in Atlanta. I'm not sure what other cities it is. So if you download this app, you know, you'll have to see whether or not it has it in your city. But Peerspace will allow you to go and find event spaces that are appropriate for the size, and they will not hit you over the head with the cost. So you can find something in your price range for under that amount of money. I don't know if you're gonna be able to find it for under $100, but I will tell you about Peerspace. But it's sounding like one or two things. You need to have a free venue, and some of these other options: free venue, free DJ, free da-da-da-da-da-da, people who are going to work and agree to get paid after the event, if you can work out some of those things. So options for these things, because you need a venue, how are you going to get it marketed, how are you going to sell it, you need music, and you need refreshments. So if I came in and I was doing your plan, I could give you various things, and I'm going to talk through them quickly because I see that we're coming up on 45 minutes here, and I do want to answer Jamar's question. So you could consider a free venue. You could consider booking the venue after doing pre-sales. So there are sites like Eventbrite. You can go on Eventbrite. You can host in it. You could post your event for a nominal fee. I believe Eventbrite, if it's your first time selling tickets on there, that they will give you maybe 30 days. If they're not doing that anymore, don't shoot the messenger. But you can host your event on there, and then put in the comments that the location is TBA. Now, Whether or not somebody gonna buy a ticket for TBA, I can't tell you that. Okay. But so the free options and things of that nature may be, a better look. However, if you go on Eventbrite and you're able to pick the time, you pick the location, it's through a secure site, you've set up a social media to support your event. So people are like, or you're inviting friends and family. So people are aware that you're doing it, and those people trust you, and that those people will at least get you some money. Then what you can do is do some pre-sales. Send it to, if you're trying to get half the people to say yes, double that. So, okay, I'm going to send it to 20, 30 people. Give them tickets for $10. Allow them to give you the seed money to continue to fuel this, right? And so pre-sale tickets to your close family and friends, then get enough money to get your space. I would look for a space where they're charging maybe $50 an hour. So $50 an hour, you could have 4 hours, get you, $200. You could get a nice size event. You need to do a playlist, and you cannot provide refreshments. Maybe you do BYOB, right? People love a BYOB, okay? All of that is just bringing it together with marketing. So with that being said, part of what your strategic plan will look like is I'm going to go onto Instagram and create a page for my party. Maya's Lituation, okay? Then I'm going to create an Eventbrite link, okay? And I'm going to have the location as TBA, and I'm going to send it to my network. I'm going to send it to all of my friends. I'm going to put it on my social media. I'm going to say, y'all need to be following my social media page for my party, and I need y'all to support my party because I have a limited number of pre-sale tickets for $10, okay? Or $20. At $20 for your friends and family, right? You could raise enough money to get to this $200. Once you get the $200 for your space, you book the space, right? Now, if you have a little money left over and you could do some little entrees or do a little punch, you could do that, okay? But these are just ways that you can quickly come up with a plan to quickly accomplish your goals, and why having somebody such as an elevation coach to be able to work through with you and make it tailored. Everybody doesn't just spit things out like that. And I think that people believe that they are unable to do it because they don't know how. No, get somebody that knows how to do it and pay them to do it with you, right? And then get it done and then win 10 times out of 10. And when you are a multi-millionaire, see ya, then other people will know, okay, this is something that you could have been doing, or they won't know at all because it ain't their business, okay? It's not their business how you accomplish that. Okay, so Jamar, thanks for the question in the chat. What if the goal is to build a brand instead of making money? Okay, that's not a factual thing. Nobody's goal is to build a brand and not make money. The purpose of building a brand is to make money, right? And so I think that building a brand is the importance of that is that the more you build your brand, you're going to be able to make more money. So when you see these big brands that have all this brand recognition, international brand recognition, Nike, Apple, right? I don't know if you've seen the clip where it shows all the different logos. If you time to run down into these rabbit holes and you're like me and you're like, oh, okay, I just want to be out here looking something up. Said no one ever. Do Apple logos, do Microsoft logos. Look at how they've changed. And so what you will notice is that the brand recognition for companies like Apple and Nike is so strong that they've been able to go from using the name to just the logo, right? And so when you see that Apple, you see that check, you know what's up. And so part of brand recognition, the purpose of it is making money. Like that is the only reason why anybody is in business. However, if you're at the part of your journey where what you want to do is to build your credibility, because part of brand recognition is just building trust and credibility. That's really what you're saying. You're saying, look, you know what it is. You know who I am. I don't have to flex anymore, right? And so that can come from, being associated with somebody like, Fenty, right? Fenty is able, it has what it has and is who it is because of Rihanna and how it's been marketed, and it being so smart because the marketing has always, she does all of her marketing herself. And so it has a heightened level of brand recognition, because of it. And so if something like that is your goal, it goes back to what I said before, which was marketing, marketing, marketing. And I think you should always be thinking about how you want your business to be presented. However, if you're just getting started, the first iteration of it is not going to be what it turns into. Businesses are living, breathing, growing things just like we are. You have to be willing to allow it to change and adapt to the times. I think that is what you see happening with a lot of baby boomers and their businesses, because they're running them the same way. Their perspective on them is the same way. They have said that you will see a lot of successful companies like turning over whole departments every 5 years because they want to get new ideas, they want to get new energy, they want to get new insights, they want to get new perspective on how to move forward. What does Nike look like in 2025 versus what it looked like in 2015 and 2005 and 1995? And I think that you probably can see some of these things with with who they're associating themselves with, how sports have evolved. It's interesting because a lot of people, you find them talking about, the differences between this generation, my generation. I think there's one in between, and then, the old heads, the OGs. And I think it's really that we just, it's not that the young folks then lost their mind, and it's not that the old folks was tripping. It's just that things are developing and changing, right? Like, so going back to what I said about business, and if you were running a business in 2000, I don't know what year the iPhone came out, but if you think about how technology, the internet, social media, like content creation was not a job, right? When we were younger, but here I am, and I've been on a YouTube live for almost an hour talking to people about business. The way that we do business is not the way that our parents did business, and our children will not do business the same way. But, I think that what has not changed is that, you have to work hard, you have to get started, you have to be consistent, you have to do marketing. In 2025, you need to be using, some type of AI to make it easier for you to kind of organize, to be investing in yourself, to be learning, to be getting better, to be competitive, right? I think there's space for everybody in the market. Everybody can make money doing almost anything. It's just how much. And so the people who are willing to scale, to get bigger, the people who are willing to put themselves out there, the people who are willing to have their businesses front facing, those people are the ones who are seeing more growth, more income, more profit than people who choose to keep theirs local. I don't think there's any right way to do it. I think that there is success in running your ice cream shop. There's just as much success in running a local grocery store as there is running a Fortune 500 company. It's just maybe the pressure is different. It depends on the individual. Some people feel like, they're not willing to take the risk that is associated with being an entrepreneur or being self-employed. But what I will tell you is that there are benefits. Okay. Benefits. One of the main benefits of, jumping out here, starting your business, chasing your dream is that you are your own boss, right? You get to decide. That means that, oh, how many days of vacation I have when I feel like it, that's how many days I have. What am I gonna give myself a raise if I work harder? If you work harder and you stay consistent and you are not taking no for an answer, you can and you will have unlimited potential in terms of what you can do with these things. There's flexibility. So hey, look, I got this doctor's appointment. I need to be doing this with my children. I want to work from, Paris. Um, I want to pivot. Or I want to express myself this way. There is freedom in generating your own income, being able to, and I think there's a degree of like satisfaction in it. I don't think it's for everybody. I have friends, most of my friends who I went to college with, they have their corporate jobs and they're extremely successful, and I love that for them. I've been practicing law and self-employed when I haven't been self-employed the entire time I've been practicing law. But I've been self-employed and practicing law. I still practice in Georgia, and there is a extremely rewarding feeling that you get. I'm working on saying I need to get that together. I don't know how. Somebody send me something about that because I need to work. I was editing a video earlier. I'm like, sis, this is why people want you to not say this, because it's very distracting and you have to really edit hard. So I might have to put cash app $1 to somebody every time I say that because it's killing me. But anyways, absolutely something I didn't went back into it. Absolutely a lot of opportunity out here waiting on you if you choose it. And so I just want to encourage any and everybody to follow your dreams, do the things that are going to make you happy. Work is not, from my humble opinion, what life is supposed to be about. Your life is those important moments with your family. Your life is taking that trip you always dreamed of. Your life is what happens in between. And work is a way to, express yourself. Work is a way to make money. It shouldn't be something that is overwhelming and taxing and super stressful. But I do think that if you're an ambitious person and it's on your heart and it's in your heart to, start your business, pursue your dream. And even if your dream is not starting a business, if your dream is dancing or painting, or you want to go back to school, or you want to be a therapist, or you always want to be in law enforcement, or you always wanted to be an attorney, or you always wanted to be a judge, or you always wanted to, whatever you're always wanted to do is, it's waiting on you. And so all you need to do is to go back to what I said first, which is get started. And so I hope that I have said something that helps somebody. And I hope that you are happy. And I'm looking forward to our next conversation. Make sure you are subscribing to my page. Make sure you make sure you comment, make sure you engage, give me some topics. Watch my videos, okay? All up in a video. And I'm going to be doing another live on Thursday. It's going to be specifically about grief and my grief journey. And I'm hoping that I can provide some help to someone else who is living their grief journey and can offer some of the things that I have done that may be helpful. So I see some people just hopped on. Please subscribe. Please like, please comment. I'm reaching the end of it. Y'all have a good night.